Well, I've got a big project planned for soon, but to put something into the gap of my uploading schedule that always seems to be getting bigger and bigger as time goes on, y'all hear of loss? Ctrl+Alt+Delete was a webcomic from way back in the day, made by Tim Buckley in the early 2000s. Was it that good? Not really, but it got traction regardless, likely because gaming was still a pretty niche topic, and while there were webcomics pertaining to the gaming medium, it was a relatively unfilled market. And ever since then, Ctrl+Alt+Delete has managed to pull in admittedly impressive numbers, which is surprising considering its reputation as one of the worst webcomics ever made, if not the worst overall. So you have a webcomic that managed to wiggle its way into the market, probably just because there really wasn't anything better in all honesty, and it's picking up steam. Where do we go from here? Well, television, obviously! According to Wikipedia, in December of 2005, a company known as Blind Ferret Studios approached Mr. Buckley and pitched the idea of an animated adaptation of his webcomic, believing the characters would translate well into the animated medium. While the animated series would be sold as downloadable files on the internet, as well as the option for physical DVD copies, the creators actually wanted this heap to go on television. Orion Sommer, vice president of Blind Ferret Entertainment and the series director, claimed that the animated series, which used a traditional 2D style, a professional voice cast, and a lengthy development period, was of sufficient quality to be comparable to that of televised animated series. Not to mention that the CEO himself said that TV was where he ultimately wanted this thing to end up on. So just keep all that in mind as we overview the series. Now, the cost of a season was $30. Each episode itself was about 4.5 minutes long once you take out the intro and credits. So the first season is 12 episodes, so that's $30 for less than an hour of content if you really think about it. Now I get it, animation's expensive, but I'd be lying to you if I said that you'd be getting bang for your buck. I mean, you could probably buy a full-on movie for less. The series itself is technically a comedy focusing on the self-insert, main character, Ethan, and his misadventures. Accompanying him throughout are his roommate, Lucas, and then there's Lila, Ethan's gamer girlfriend. Keep in mind, Ethan isn't a self-insert. Trust me on this, guys. And then there's the robot. It exists and frankly adds nothing to the show. Alright, so I guess I'll just kind of get into it. Now, normally when you do a review on a show, you'd review each episode first to last. Honestly though, the show has so little substance to it that if I were to follow such a formula, I'd just be repeating myself over and over. So instead of doing this review the quote-unquote traditional way, I'm just gonna make a list of my grievances and just show you bits and pieces of what I mean. Alright, first up, animation. Now, I think this is the most important thing to get out of the way first. The show does a great job of replicating the style of the webcomic. If I were to picture Ctrl+Alt+Delete animated, this is probably what it would look like. As you can tell, that's not a compliment. See, when I look at a Ctrl+Alt+Delete comic strip, I see stiff, lazy, lifeless. And that's the animation in a nutshell. I mean, just look at it. It looks like it's running on PowerPoint. I've seen better frame rates on Sonic Boom. And you know, I'd have a little more sympathy for the series, considering a few things, right? I mean, web animation was still taking shape, I guess. But then again, consider that this was 1, made by a team, 2, being sold for $30, 3, they thought this was good enough to go on mainstream television. That's right, this crap on a TV screen. I've seen the animation quality and the show quality overall compared to Newground stuff, and I mean, yeah, this is pretty spot on with what you'd find on the site, but you can't help but find it funny that while this show was made by multiple people and was being charged money for, it struggles to match the quality of people who don't have access to a group or funding. They just have some time to kill and they're like, I'll just make an animation for tellols. Secondly, I guess I'll dig into the humor of the show. Something else they managed to translate very well into Ctrl+Alt+Delete was the humor, or lack thereof. Just as the webcomic is painfully unfunny, so too is the show.
Wait a minute. I can get out of here. I've done this 1,000,000 times in video games. Ow!
Now, don't get me wrong, there are some good quips every now and then.
Gun!
Nerd! bored.
But I'd say like 99% of the jokes and gags fall completely flat. Most of the jokes relate to video games, which, I mean, it's a show based on a webcomic based on video games. That's kind of to be expected, I guess. The problem is, most of the jokes are just, wow, video games.
Hey, you feel like going to see a movie? There are a few good ones playing that
I can't. Lucas is hogging the TV, so I have to find other stuff to do.
Ethan, going to see a movie is other stuff.
Holy crap, you're right. Hey, do you think the theater would let me hook up a video game system to one of their screens? What undeniable truths about our lifestyle must be passed on to future generations? Video games are awesome!
Hey, Ethan, I was thinking...
Don't do that. It takes you out of the gaming groove.
Spend your paycheck on video games again?
Naturally. Rent, food, and clothing are terribly boring uses for my hard-earned money.
Now, here are the rules.
Wait. Where is the options menu? I want to adjust my controls.
Ethan, this is a board game. There is no options menu.
Screw that, then. I'm not going to play if I'm stuck with the default controls.
Oh, am I supposed to be laughing right now? Is that why you have this extra bit of silence, so I can have some time to laugh? I'm on the floor right now, guys. Trust me. You know, this show would be a lot more bearable if Ethan wasn't constantly talking about how much he loves video games, right? Like, okay, as a running gag, maybe a joke about it here and there, it wouldn't be that bad. But it seems there isn't a moment where the main character isn't talking about how much he loves video games. He may as well just be poking you with a stick. Hey, I like video games. You hear of video games? A lot of the show relies on, it's funny because it's random.
I'm really a cook. Stay away! Stay away, you filth-covered demon!
Peanut butter on the nipples is considered a recipe for intoxication. I am perturbed at the lack of monkey in your room. Adieu. Ooh, this game looks good.
Okay, someone sees a game and wants to buy it, and then an anvil falls on his head. What's the joke? How's this fun? Now, maybe I should cut the show some slack because humor then was much different than humor now. I don't know, I just can't imagine someone who paid $30 for this trash actually laughing. I don't know. You know, something the webcomic was criticized for was its walls of text that made reading the damn thing a slog. Ironically, I'd say that Ctrl+Alt+Delete the show suffers from a similar thing. Build-ups to jokes will sometimes take longer than needed because there's just a bunch of unneeded dialogue. I'm not really an audio guy, but let's talk about sound design. First up, the show has a lot of dead air. Dead air is often detrimental to the quality of your content. Unless something else is happening, you generally want to keep people talking. Ctrl+Alt+Delete, however, has long, weird periods of silence where nothing's really going on. Oftentimes, there's hardly any ambience or anything, so it's just complete silence. The best example of all this is Season 1, Episode 9, where there's no dialogue at all. I mean, here's some of its best hits. Oh yeah, the sound effects are awful. Probably royalty-free garbage. The same goes for the music. Now, I don't necessarily mind stock-free stuff, but it's certainly not professional. And you know, for being a product that's supposedly fit to be on TV, yeah, they're not doing themselves any favors. Now, let's talk characters. Now, speaking as someone who hasn't really read much of Ctrl+Alt+Delete the comic, I can't really tell you if the show does them justice, but watching the animations, the characters are awful. Putting aside main character Ethan for a bit, Lucas seems to be the only one in the cast that's kind of likable and really has any sort of personality. He's a level-headed individual who can bring Ethan back to reality if needed. I guess he's his foil, I guess. Now, Lila is Ethan's girlfriend. That's all I can really tell you about her.
Is that
Yep.
the "you're not getting any for a month" look?
Yep.
Get it, guys? Because Ethan has mega sex. Yeah, Lila really serves no purpose to the show other than being Ethan's girlfriend. Very little personality, honestly. Oftentimes you get the weird feeling that she just serves as a way for Tim to imagine what it's like to even have a girlfriend. The robot exists and rarely contributes anything to the show. He's witty and sarcastic, I guess? I don't know. Now, regarding the star of the show, as you've probably guessed, Ethan is incredibly unlikable. I get the feeling they wanted to have a quirky, over-the-top, but overall still lovable MC. The problem is, they overdo it. They overdo it big time. So, really, he's not lovable or funny, he's just annoying. As much as I want to dog on the show, I'll actually give it this. The second season is miles better than the first. Now, don't get me wrong, it retains a lot of flaws, and I still wouldn't say it's overall good. There's still the problem with dead air, the episodes are longer, but really aren't worth the price. But the art style is cleaner, if not inconsistent between episodes. The animation is a lot more fluid, if not still jarring at times. And the jokes manage to land a little more often, and when they do, they hit a lot harder. I can't really say I've ever chuckled, but I found myself thinking, hey, that was actually pretty good. I don't know, maybe the first season just set my expectations way too low, I don't know. The microphone quality improved significantly.
Hey Lila, you know how to tell if melons are ripe?
Yes, Ethan.
Plus, Ethan's character is a little more human. He isn't constantly reminding you about how much he likes video games, though he's still an often annoyingly over-exaggerated character. And while Lila has a little more character beyond just being Ethan's girlfriend, you still get the feeling that she only exists just so Tim can imagine what it's like to actually have a girlfriend. I don't know, I'd probably give the first season a 2 out of 10 should I give it a rating, but the second season could probably get a 4, a 5 if I really wanted to stretch it. Not really fit for TV, but nah. Unfortunately, that's where the ride ends. While there was a build up to season 3, it just never happened, presumably because the show just didn't flip a profit. Man, I wonder why. Supposedly, the few who actually paid money for the show were so upset about its quality and the fact that they couldn't get a refund that they straight up just put it on the Pirate Bay. And honestly, as badass as that is, I can't really say that they did any of us any favors. Not to mention that my source for this is Encyclopedia Dramatica, so honestly, take that as you will. Overall, Ctrl+Alt+Delete the show was a dumpster fire that proves that webcomics should probably just stay comics. Little cartoons on the web that arouse a chuckle every now and then. Friendly Fella Jed, out.